Well, I think we can get started now. Our next speaker is Secretary Curtis Coy, and we have an interesting relationship with the CCME and Secretary Coy's office. Earlier this year, there was a White House forum that was had with schools, and a lot of organizations were called together. And what they wanted to do is try to see if organizations and schools could help in the credentialing issue, as far as how can we help service members that are coming out of the service that may have had all sorts of training, and then they would go to some school and then they wouldn't accept that. Or for example, if someone had been a truck driver in Afghanistan and had the best training, the most dangerous training, and probably the best truck driver in the world, but they would come back to the US and they would try to get a job and they say, no, you don't meet our qualifications, you don't meet our certification. So one of the purposes of that was to try to alleviate, roadblocks and things for our service members. And so I was very happy that CCME was invited to that forum, and we had 5 members of our board that were there. And Secretary Coy was the co-chair for this panel. And he says, what can you do, everybody was in the audience, to try to help in this issue? And so what I said, well, I went up to afterwards, I said, maybe could you and the VA have more of a closer linkage with the CCME? And he said, yes. And I said, well, gee, can we get you on the agenda here to come talk to us about some VA issues and things in our symposium in Savannah? He said, yeah, just give me a call. So I'm very happy he did accept that. So I'll tell you about Secretary Coy. He says, Undersecretary for Economic Opportunity, Veterans Benefit Administration, Department of Veteran Affairs. In his role, Secretary Coy oversees all education benefits, the GI Bill, loan guarantee, VA home loans and vocational rehabilitation, and employment services for America's veterans. Mr. Coy retired in 1994 from the Navy as a commander in the Supply Corps. After beginning his military career as an enlisted service member in the Air Force, and as a member of the 1975 graduating class of the U.S. Naval Academy. Mr. Coy attended the Naval Postgraduate School, where he attained his master's degree in acquisition contracting management and material logistics support. He served as an adjunct associate professor for the University of Maryland University College, Graduate School of Management and Technology, and he has also been a guest lecturer at the Naval Postgraduate School. Proud to welcome Secretary Coy.
Let's see if I get this right here. Can everybody hear me, or do I have this close enough now? I think we're okay now. I want to thank you for having me here to speak at CCME. It's a professional development symposium, and many thanks, Mike, for that wonderfully kind introduction. Before we get started, I want to thank your president, Mike Heberling, for his leadership during his first year as president of CCME, and the other members of the CCME board for the work that you all do to support CCME. What you do is important. It's important for veterans, and it's important for our country. I also want to take a moment to recognize some of your distinguished speakers, certainly General Jones, who is here this morning, and tomorrow I understand Jessica Lynch will be here, and I want to thank them in advance and post for their service and dedication to our country. To the academic institutions and education representatives, state, federal offices here, military and veteran advocates, colleagues, thank you for what you do. Thank you for what you do. I'm honored to be here today. The annual CCME Symposium is a great opportunity for all of us invested in military and veteran education to regroup, to regear, to reposition ourselves to ensure the best for our service members and veterans pursuing higher education. This year's theme, Crossroads in Military Education, Looking Back, Moving Forward, gives us all that opportunity to analyze the many initiatives and achievements we have accomplished so far and plan on how to move forward in the future. The theme is very timely. This year marks the 70th anniversary of the GI Bill, certainly a time for celebration and reflection. A significant amount of hard work has been accomplished since last year's symposium. Last month, I was the keynote speaker at the annual Student Veterans of America Conference and discussed the great progress that everyone involved in this veteran student education field has made. From the successful implementation and revamping of the Transition Assistance Program, which is now mandatory for every single departing service member, through the Veterans Retraining and Assistance Program, to schools who have started their own veterans-oriented services, and further implementations of the principles of excellence, there's a lot to take pride in. VA and educational institutions have always been on the forefront of providing education to veterans since the first GI Bill was started after World War II. VA and we are now in the midst of our newest GI Bill, the post-9/11 GI Bill, that started in 2009. We have 4 years of post-9/11 GI Bill under our belt. We've issued over $36 billion of benefits and served over 1.1 million beneficiaries. The program has seen tremendous growth since nearly 330,000 veterans and beneficiaries used the post-9/11 GI Bill in its first year to now more than 755,000. I'm sure all of you have been impacted by these numbers. You will now have more veteran students at your schools and in your classrooms, changing the makeup of college classroom that no longer consists of those fresh-faced 18 or 19-year-old kids. Our veteran students are coming on campus with experiences and skills that you don't receive in a high school classroom. They are also coming with life circumstances and responsibilities that may impact how they are able to succeed in school. One such veteran is Tahita, who we feature on our GI Bill website. Tahita is a veteran of the Air Force who was deployed to Afghanistan. She tried going to school before, but was working 3 jobs, which made it impossible for her to focus on her studies. The benefits of the post-9/11 GI Bill has eased some of those burdens. She's now attending school and majoring in her dream field of anthropology and archaeology. Other students like Tahita have similar circumstances where they're supporting a family or working multiple jobs. Some of these students need that additional help that you all can provide. As leaders and representatives in the field of education, we each have a commitment to ensure our military service members and veterans are receiving the best education and support services when they return from military service. It is the education that each of your schools provide that prepares these men and women for careers and economic success post-military life. Ensuring that veterans receive post-secondary education and are prepared for post-active duty employment is more than just getting them enrolled and simply paying their check to go to English or engineering school or class. As we move forward, we have a number of challenges and opportunities ahead of us beyond checking off an attendance box and paying tuition checks. Last year, we expanded our Vet Success on Campus program. I talked to a few of you that have those expanded schools just this morning. The VSOC program places an experienced vocational rehabilitation counselor on the campus full-time. It's interesting, I have monthly calls with all of our VSOC counselors, and every single month I tell them I want someday to be reincarnated to be a VSOC counselor on school. What a great job it must be. The mission of our VSOC program is to provide supportive services necessary to ensure that student veterans are successful in their academic pursuits, adjust to campus environment, and successfully transition. Since its inception in 2008, With 8 campuses, we have now grown to 94 campuses. We are also in collaboration with the AmeriCorps as part of the Corporation for National and Community Service. This collaborative effort will increase supports for those boots on the ground at those VSOC schools. Secretary Shinseki often reiterates to veteran students that they must graduate, graduate, graduate. Pretty clear, not a hard message to understand. Most of them get it. As we continue to emphasize the importance of graduation to our students, we also need to make sure that we are giving them the support they need to reach that goal. We assist them by making sure that they are fully informed consumers in choosing a school and a career path and using their VA benefits. Anyone who has seen me testify the many times in front of Congress, key message is we want our student veterans to be informed consumers. We don't want to tell them to go this way or that way, but we want to make sure that they have the information they need to make a good decision. This knowledge that we provide can start early on, even while they're in the military and transitioning out in the Transition Assistance Program. They can also use their interest, check their interest and aptitude using a test called Career Scope that we have on our GI Bill website. From there, a prospective student can use our Choosing the Right School Guide to identify key factors to consider when they're making a final determination as to where to go to school. Just last week, we released the GI Bill comparison tool that allows prospective student veterans to compare educational institutions on factors such as cost, student veteran enrollment, graduation rates, or median borrowing to find the school that is the best fit for them. All of this information was available to students on multiple websites. In fact, last count was over 22 websites. But now they can go to one source to compare institutions with factors that are important to them, so they can make a truly informed decision. I brought with me today, just so you know, we launched the complaint system on Tuesday of last week. As of Friday of last week, we had 24,266 page views, 18,210 unique page views. We had 23,973 schools that were selected, 9,129 unique events. Top 10 schools, the number one, which I find interesting, was Harvard University. But it also makes the point, and it's something that I often tell people as we go out and talk to student veterans before they go to school. And the emphasis is we need to make sure that those veterans and service members know to aim high, to use the Air Force expression. There's no reason why they can't go to Harvard University. I was at Columbia University, same story, and I can go on and on and on. We need to make sure that our veterans know that they have choices, and sometimes those choices will be tough ones, but ones that make a difference. Additionally, we have an online complaint system that was launched about a week or so ago. My good friend and partner, Dawn, where's Dawn? She was, right there she is. Told you all of that, so there won't be any questions for me about the complaint system because I know Dawn answered all of those questions. Just to give you an indication, I brought this. In the first week or so of the complaint system, there were 8,719 landing page views. That's not complaints, by the way. That's people who went to the site. We had, let me make sure I get my glasses on for this. We have registered in the first week 671 complaints. As Dawn indicated, we have just started going through them. We do send those complaints to the school, as she indicated, and there's a number of those complaints that were registered, as she indicated, that the number one was, I think, post 9/11 GI Bill benefits and what's going on with that. The number two quote question or complaint was about the VRAP program, and then it sort of fell off from there. There were a number of what Dawn has heard me say, cheeseburger complaints, meaning, you know, I don't like the cheeseburgers in the school cafeteria. What are you going to do about that? But as Dawn indicated, the complaint system is principally, we have a landing page that both us and DoD are using that explains the type and reason for that complaint. And we do go to each school to talk about those complaints and get that feedback. So we want that feedback from our veterans, and we want to make sure that attending the school is the best experience possible. So we have lots of different things that are going on. As Dawn indicated, we are going to morph into a bigger feedback system as we expand these services, but these kinds of tools are certainly game changers on how we're providing veterans with key resources to make the decision they need to use their federal benefits in a smarter, more economic way. So while we're making efforts to help veterans choose the right school, and we're helping veterans succeed in their educational pursuits, we're also making strides in tracking successful outcomes for student veterans, a big goal for us this year and next. Back when VA implemented the first GI Bill, roughly 8 million out of 16 million World War II veterans used the GI Bill. As we all know, the program was considered a major success and sped along long-term economic growth and created what we all now know as the greatest generation. However, nobody knows how many of those 8 million veterans received a degree or what it was in, what the graduation rate was, what the success factors were. That was then. But it speaks to the challenge that we have today, is a new area for us to track. We need to develop better ways to report on successes our student veterans have, whether it's attaining a degree or receiving training to re-enter or enter the workforce. We've been tracking and getting voluntary graduation completions from about 2,600 schools. I implore you all to help us take a look at how do we start making sure that we track veterans as a cohort at every single school. We need to do it voluntarily now so we can start showing people the benefits of the post 9/11 GI Bill. We're also working on an in-depth study to analyze the factors that contribute to economic success of veterans separating from the military service. Our goal in this study is to identify areas where we can improve the services we provide. The initial results are promising. It shows our veterans are seeing success after their military career, but there is more to look at and analyze in this area, and we are doing that. Our partners are helping in this area too. Last year, Student Veterans of America was a $5 million grant from Google in support of the Million Records Project. Through this project, SVA is tracking economic outcomes for more than 1 million student veterans over the next 2.5 years. SVA was also critical in funding an initiative to begin analyzing educational completion data for post 9/11 and Montgomery GI Bill. We're tracking with the National Student Clearinghouse to get this done. We should have those results ready in the next few months. Just like the investment SVA has made, academic institutions are also important in ensuring we set veterans up for success in their educational goals. We recognize that the government does not have all the answers on how schools can continue to provide support to veterans. There are a number of examples of what individual schools have implemented to show their commitment to veteran success in the classroom. Just last month, I was up at Rutgers University and toured their Veteran House. The Veteran House not only houses their Office of Veteran Services, but also provides a space for veteran students to meet with other veterans and connect with the on-campus Veteran Service Coordinator. While not every school may have a campus or have a program like this. This effort Rutgers has placed in ensuring veterans have the specific resources they need help show their commitment to their students. 2 weeks ago, I was in a meeting with the president of Pasadena City College to discuss ways their school could support veteran students enrolled at their college and help them prepare their veteran students to transition to a four-year school. I know these same conversations are going on across campuses throughout the country. Each of you at academic institutions are the boots on the ground to help veteran students and ensure they are succeeding in their academic career goals. Our VSOC program helps bridge some of those gaps, but you all are the best resources for identifying what is needed and how to support that need. Other areas where schools can assist are with initiatives such as the Principles of Excellence. We need all schools to sign up for these principles to ensure that students are given the right tools to assist them in making informed decisions when choosing a school to use their hard-earned, well-earned GI Bill benefits. There are other ways schools can continue their ongoing support to veterans. One of these is the 8 Keys to Success. Last August, the President announced the 8 Keys to Success. This was a collaborative effort. It started about a year and a half ago with the Department of Education having a convening. We participated along with DOD and many, many others, and we created what we consider to be the 8 Keys to Success. I have them if you'd like them. And so we're rolling that out. Within the first week, we had 260 schools sign up. We're beginning a campaign to get this word out and ask schools to sign up. We plan on also putting this on our comparison tool as we move forward. Just like the Principles of Excellence, these keys set the stage to help schools in establishing the ongoing support and services our student veterans deserve. Something to remember, though. The reason veterans are going to school is to achieve the American dream, to secure meaningful employment. We owe them the opportunity to help them achieve not only their educational goals, but their employment goal, too. A couple facts, as you know, every month the Bureau of Labor Statistics comes out with their latest unemployment report. Veterans overall have been doing pretty well. This past month, it showed that veterans had a 5.6% unemployment. Good news. Bad news is the younger veterans are the ones that are struggling the most, and we need to get better at that. Veterans still face unemployment challenges, including cultural challenges, transitioning into a full-time civilian environment, difficulty translating military experience for civilian employers, and increasing competition as the number of veterans seeking civilian employment increases. And while the current economic climate certainly plays a large role in veteran unemployment issues, we can ensure that these veterans have a better outlook by giving them the tools they need. In response to these and many other challenges veterans face today, VA is working closely together with the private sector and in partnership with many other federal agencies to offer veterans meaningful employment options and a chance to brush up on their skills needed for those high-demand jobs. Last year, we hired a senior advisor for veteran employment to lead our employment efforts, Rosie Cloud. She was the President's Policy Director for Veterans, Wounded Warriors, and Military Families. VA is committed to this effort. We went out and we got and asked for the very best. With our new advisor, we consistently meet with employers to remind them that veterans are good investment. Employers who have had established hiring practices that seek talented veterans are not disappointed. We need to get that word out and continue to have them hire more. We're working to leverage employer incentive programs offered through our vocational rehabilitation and employment program for wounded warriors and disabled veterans. Programs like the on-the-job training, apprenticeship, special employer incentive programs, and non-paid work experience. VA will continue to help these veterans, their families, and survivors achieve their educational employment goals by providing billions of dollars in GI Bill, VRE, and other programs. Our role in employment is more than just providing benefits. In 2012, we signed a memorandum of agreement with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce that leverages the reach and resources of the Chamber both locally and nationally to better integrate veterans into their local business communities. VA and the Chamber are jointly conducting Hiring Our Hero job fairs across the country. In the last couple of years, there's been over 660 of these job fairs. We also collaborated closely with them to develop a national guide to hiring veterans that provides valuable information for employers looking to improve their ability to hire, find, train, and employ veterans. To date, this hiring guide has been distributed and advertised on VA website and Chamber websites and distributed to over 10,000 employers interested in hiring veterans. We also have a number of tools and resources available. We've developed in our e-benefits program and employment portal a robust resource available to help service members and veterans transition to their civilian career. It has a job bank on there that lists about 2.7 million jobs. To date, more than 366,000 veterans have used this site, and it grows every day. Improvements to this tool continue to be underway, and we're working on that. Just last week, I was down in El Paso, Texas, at the Fort Bliss Veterans Job Summit, two-day conference for business and civic leaders. It's a template that we hope to roll out across the country. It was a partnership between the Chamber, the VA, the Department of Labor, and Fort Bliss. The Fort Bliss commanding officer required every single soldier who was going to be departing from the service within 12 months to attend this seminar. Well over 1,000 soldiers attended. 100 jobs were offered right on site, right then and there. Hundreds more were referred for second or third interviews. It's a template and partnership that we continue to do over and over and over again. You heard some of where I've been and what I've been doing and so on in past lives. I will tell you that I've been around the block a few times, and never have I seen the amount of cooperative effort between federal agencies. You heard Don, DOD, VA, Department of Labor, Department of Justice, Consumer Protection Finance Board. The list goes on and on and on. The collaborative effort to ensure that our nation's veterans are successfully transitioned to civilian life is critically important. So speaking of partnerships, we couldn't make such strides in veteran education or employment without those partners. We are engaged in a number of federal and private sector partnerships that I've talked about. We've worked with the Department of Labor extensively. VA Secretary Shinseki and Labor Secretary Perez are both deeply committed to helping veterans find employment. They meet quarterly. The Secretary of VA, Secretary Shinseki, and the Secretary of Defense meet quarterly. They talk about common themes. One of them is transition, employment, education. We also work with Department of Education on an interagency credentialing work group that Mike talked about, critically important. Other partners, such as state approving agencies. I was just speaking with their conference yesterday. The list goes on and on and on, but strengthening and growing the use of collaborative and partnerships among schools, agencies, private sector are a top priority for us. We can't go it alone, but we need our partners to help us reach our strategic goals, ensuring the economic success for our veterans. In looking back, there's a lot of accomplishments that we can celebrate, but we can't stop there, most certainly. We must continue until our veterans reach graduation, achieve their employment goal. Our mission continues until they reach that goal. We continue to push out new initiatives and tackle the challenges ahead of us. And remember why we're in this. We owe our best to our veterans. They are men and women who have given the right opportunities have the capacity to move all of us forward across America. We owe them the best because they are the next greatest generation. I can't wait to see all the progress we make together this year and the years to come. Thank you for allowing me to speak to you today, and thank you for everything you do for our country's veterans. Thank you. And I've been told I'm welcome to answer any questions, but like I said, Dawn answered all the hard questions, so I'll be happy to answer any softballs that you'd like to pass my way. Well, after a talk like that and being the speaker right before lunch, I can certainly understand that. Yes, sir.
Good morning, sir. This is Dave Barron, Troy University. I just want to thank you for the opportunity for our campus to have a VSOC counselor. Our counselor reported in the fall is already making a difference in our student lives as well as community outreach. So thank you for implementing that program. Thank you.
As I indicated in my remarks, we've gone from 8 to 94 campuses. We're taking a breather for the next year or two to implement it. I will challenge everyone. Thank you very, very much. It's a program that I'm quite passionate about, as you might imagine. But one of the things that I've reached out to everyone, and I'll say this publicly, is we need to get better at how we measure the success of the program. So put that in your back pocket and think about it. I'd like to hear from you.
Yes, is it on? Yes, sir. With sequestration looming.
The correct answer was aye, but go ahead.
Well, I'm Navy too, so. With sequestration looming and budget cuts and things along those lines, and the bringing on Chapter 33 in order to help recruitment for the wars as we scale down from those, where do you see the future of Chapter 33 and the ability to pass those benefits on to dependents going in the future? Do you think that's going to get the budget axe, or are we going to keep that?
First off, I'm not a political appointee, so I'll give you a non-political appointee answer. Right now, I've not heard, and I seem to spend a lot of time on Capitol Hill, I have not heard of anyone discussing reducing the post-9/11 GI Bill. I think universally it's accepted as a wonderful and key benefit for our veterans of the military today. But I will tell you the questions that are being asked. And the questions that are being asked is, we spent $36 billion, what do we get for it? And we're working very hard to create those kinds of answers, and it's tough. It's a squishy subject. Most certainly we can look at, quote, graduation rates. Do we look at the same graduation rate that Department of Education measures, 6 years, no transfers in or no transfers out? That most certainly is not what most veterans live with. We have veterans, as I indicated in my remarks, that go to school for a specific reason and then leave. You have somebody who does IT and they want to learn about cloud computing, and they use their post-9/11 GI Bill to take a couple courses in cloud computing. How do you measure that that individual got a promotion as a result of taking those couple classes, for example? How do you measure that when you're on active duty and before you get out, you can transfer some of your GI Bill benefits to your spouse or your kids? How do you measure that success? And so the measuring of success is critically important. But what I challenge every single school that gets GI Bill money is if you're not tracking veterans as a cohort, you need to start doing that. That's the only way we're going to make sure that we show the success of the post 9/11 GI Bill.
Good morning, sir. Appreciate your remarks. Thank you very much and your service. From a global perspective, really appreciate the collaboration, what we're seeing Department of Labor and VA and the other officers in the federal government. And a lot of that talks about the transition from the active duty military, the reservists, getting out of the military, going into higher education if that's what they so choose to do. And we talk about measures of effectiveness and your benchmarks, and I'm going to kind of ask you a question, and I won't hold you to it, but the question I have is we're at the university, the retention rates and the graduation rates sometimes come down to when does the check hit the account? From a certifying official hitting the button, saying that they've done everything from the higher education, certifying that individual, to the time that that check actually gets into that member's account. Do you have a benchmark or a measure of effectiveness that you're looking at, and how many days, weeks, or months that you would like to see from the button gets pushed? And I know there's several complicated issues if things come up, but just generally speaking, we certify, when can we expect that money to be in the bank? Those are the kind of things that help us with retention rates and graduation rates. My average demographic for a veteran on campus is 26 years old, married, 2.5 kids, and they're trying to stay in school and live on the $1,092 a month that they get for their housing expense. When that gets held up, they go to work.
About 8 days.
Okay, sir. Right now, we certified January 14th. I left to this conference yesterday, drove 2 hours down, and there's still no money in the bank today. Just that we certified this semester.
Here's the longer answer. We certainly understand the challenges that our student veterans have when it comes to their housing allowance checks and their books checks. One of the things that we've done is in September of not this last year, but the year before last, we flipped the switch on automation of supplemental claims. The automation of supplemental claims, for those, I'm sure all of you know what a supplemental claim is, but that's where you get money. And so we flipped the switch on that. We're averaging in round numbers about 50% of those claims go through the system without being touched by anybody. It started out, we had hoped to get about 30%, and we've ratcheted it up. You have to remember that the post 9/11 GI Bill has about 5,400 business rules to it. It's hard. And so about half of the supplemental checks are going through untouched by human hands. That means 50% are certainly touched by human hands, but 35% of those that don't go through automatically get some automation on it, meaning name, rank, serial number, and those kinds of things. We are currently averaging for supplemental claims, meaning those that flash through untouched versus the ones that we have some work to do, and then versus the ones that we have more work to do, we're averaging between 5 and 8 days. For original claims, we're averaging in round numbers about 18 days. At our worst, about a year and a half ago, original claims was creeping up to the 40, 50-day time frame. One of the other things that is something that we need to make sure that every student coming on campus clearly understands is interval pay. Now, you can ask my opinion about it until we're all blue in the face, but the fact is we don't pay interval pay anymore. And so we also don't pay ahead. So that student that shows up on campus on September 1, even if everything works perfectly, is not getting a check, if you will, until October 1, after the fact. And many folks don't understand that the fact is well, gee whiz, how am I supposed to live in September? I didn't get my check. Well, it's like your paycheck. You get paid post, not pre. So we're working very, very hard. We recognize the hardships that veteran students have. We think we've gotten a lot better, but we're not perfect. And you're right, there are instances where it's taking longer than it should. But we've seen the reduction of supplemental claims in the last year or two go from about 25 days down to 5 to 8 days.
Thanks, sir.
That was a longer answer, perhaps, than you were looking for.
Good morning, sir. Rita Stokes here from the United States Coast Guard, post 9/11 GI Bill Program Manager. I have a quick question for you, sir. Regional offices are not always on the same page when it comes to policy or law. My question is, specifically when it comes to the United States Coast Guard Academy graduates. Prior to the 4 January 2011 amendment to public law, Coast Guard Academy graduates were exempt from the payback time. Once the public law changed, it stated that as of this day, Coast Guard Academy graduates must now have the payback time along with the other services. The United States Coast Guard, we took this as of this day because it says those who are entering into an agreement with must fulfill that. So those Academy personnel who are entering the Academy that year of 2011, they were the ones who were first going to have the payback time. We've been going back and forth with the regional offices, VA Central, and policy concerning this. Some of the regional offices are allowing our Academy graduates to have the GI Bill, while other ones are not. How can we get all of the regional offices on the same page when it comes to certain things like Coast Guard Academy graduates and other things also? It seems like you ask one regional office one thing, they'll tell you something. You ask Buffalo something else, they'll tell you something totally different.
Physical violence would be maybe one of them, but we have 4 regional offices that process our education claims: Atlanta, Muskogee, Buffalo, and St. Louis. I was not aware, thank you for raising the Academy issue. I do know that there's been instances where Service Academy graduates, because of the change in the law, we've had to go back and forth. It sounds like it's something that we need to reemphasize and make sure that everyone is on the same page, and I'll take that back and make sure that we do. So thank you for raising that.
Mr. Coy, Jeff Cropsey from Grantham University. And first, as a comment, as a recipient of your emails, I want to thank you very much. I have been working with GI Bills counseling on them since 1972, and this has been without a doubt, the finest series of information on GI Bills that I've ever been involved in. So thank you for putting all that effort into that. I think there are others that are in here. And then just a quick question, sort of out of curiosity, now with the 9/11 GI Bill allowing transferability, do you have any sort of general percentages as the numbers of 9/11 students that are actually spouses or dependents, children of veterans, vice those that are actually veterans using it?
Yeah, we do, but I didn't bring it with my pile here, so if you could send me a note, I'll be happy to get that information back to you. In fact, maybe I'll make it one of my next obnoxious missives that I send out and let people know.
Sir, good morning. I'm Kelly Wilmoth from the University of Maryland, University College. Very much appreciate your remarks. First of all, I wanted to let you know that we have 2 VSOC counselors on our campus, Dr. Shonda McLaughlin and Diane Wilson. They are phenomenal and they've been with us for 2 years and are just doing fabulous things for our students. We also just got 2 of the AmeriCorps volunteers on our campus as well. So thank you for those resources. I'm wondering if you could expand a little bit more on the campaign that you're going to roll out to allow more institutions to become members of the 8 Keys to Success. We would very much like to get on board with that and would like to know what immediate steps we could be taking to make that happen. Thank you.
Consider yourself signed up, number 1. Let me just, I'll quickly tell you what the 8 keys are. I wasn't going to read them to you. But they're not dissimilar to the principles of excellence in many ways. Number one, create a culture across the campus community to promote well-being for veterans. Ensure consistent and sustained support from campus leadership. Implement an early alert system for veterans to intervene early with assistance. Coordinate and centralize campus efforts for all veterans. Collaborate with local communities and organizations to align services for veterans. Utilize a uniform set of data tools to collect and track information for veterans, a large part of some of the things that I've been talking about. Provide comprehensive professional development for faculty and staff. We don't do that sometimes as well as we should. Develop systems that ensure sustainability of effective practices for veterans. That's the 8 keys. We have more information, but those are the 8 keys that as you go forward.
Sir, this is
I'll be
Stephen
happy
Terry.
to answer questions. I'm holding your lunch up, so that's up to you.
Hello. Can I just ask one final question for you, sir? This is
We can
Stephen
probably
Terry.
take